correct, right?
Yep. I have to pause here. I do apologize. So the meeting wasn't recording. I'd hit the button and it was stuck. So just to recap, we covered updates to the Bay Street pedestrian pathway. We talked, the staff made contact with the Washington State Local Programs Friday. We still don't have a final determination yet for the segmenting of the project into the 3 segments, and the request to demo those structures. Councilmember Fenton, you just inquired if it was still our plan to demolish those structures. The city is committed to demolish those structures. We have a construction spec being prepared, almost finalized, that we could go out to competitive bid process so we can remove those things as soon as possible. We will have to get some local permits, clean air. They're pretty simple, straightforward. We just need the authorization from Federal Highway Commission. So staff, the city is prepared to do it. We want those things out of there. As soon as we get the go ahead, we'll proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Sorry for that pause. Item B, next up, SR 166 Bay Street reconstruction. We have representatives from KPFF. We've got Jake Stevens, Holly Williams, and John McMillan. So I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, I'll just give a quick overview and then ask that Jake and Holly give our presentation, but I just want to say thanks for inviting us to chat today. We're going to give an overview for some of the urban design functions for the Bay Street project and some of the adjoining interaction between the Community Event Center, the Orchard Plaza project, and like I mentioned, the Bay Street reconstruction project. So we're going to give kind of an overview of our urban design aspects, things we're looking at. Also, just going to give a quick update to say our project is at a 6% submittal. We'll be sending plans to the city tonight. We did have a good coordination discussion with WashDOT based off our last meeting. We got some good recommendations of speed and reliability improvements or speed traffic calming and speed reduction treatments that WashDOT was happy with. So that's included. I think there's a good agreement to go to a 20-mile-per-hour posted speed within downtown Port Orchard on Bay Street now. That I believe will be posted by WashDOT as this project goes into construction. But just wanted to give an update on that. It was something we discussed at our last meeting in November. And your input was helpful for helping to get an agreement on that. So with that said, you'll see some of our graphics will have some of those treatments shown. And if you have any questions on that, we can discuss it. But mainly our focus today is to get some guidance on the urban design appearance for our corridor when we get construction going and completed. So ask Holly and Jake to talk. They're with PASOMAS, sub-consultant, and these two people are landscape architects and been working on the other adjoining Port Orchard projects. So Jake and Holly, please go ahead and start your presentation.
Thanks, John. Can you guys see?
You see that already?
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're good to go?
Good to go.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you. So yeah, thanks for the introduction, John. As he mentioned, my name is Holly. I'm with SOMAS, and I've been leading the urban design and landscape architecture effort for this project. I've also been leading that for the Community Event Center, the CC, the Orchard Plaza, and the Bay Street pathway study, along with the shoreline improvements. So all these projects are uniquely integrated with one another. So we're going to talk kind of high level about that before we deep dive into what we're showing specifically for SR 166. As mentioned, we also have Jake Stevens here, who will help me present. He has been the lead landscape designer for all these projects as well. And, you know, we've been happy to be part of this integrated team with KPFF and RFM, who's done the architecture for the CEC. And we've also been coordinating on the lift station and the new Kitsap Bank location. So all of these pieces are kind of, I call them puzzle pieces to this overall vision that the city has for this area. So as I mentioned, before we jump into the nitty gritty, we wanted to look kind of high level at, you know, where we started with the downtown sub area plan. In 2021, the city adopted it. I'm assuming you're all familiar, but this really set the vision for the area. The SR 166 improvements will then set the quality for future improvements and essentially create new streetscape standards for downtown. So next slide, as we zoom in, we're looking at, specifically now that west downtown planning area, and looking, this is the redevelopment concept plan in the sub-area plan. And with that, they identified this area as a cultural, civic, and recreational hub in the community, within the community. So what we're looking at is a planning level concept for that vision, but essentially we're carrying through this vision in all these various projects. Next slide. So with that, we'll look at these downtown projects quickly. One of the kind of challenges to this project is piecing all of the different projects and puzzle pieces together. One of the biggest implementation challenges is going to be the goal of a driving goal for these projects is to raise the improvements up in elevation to deal with flooding and rising sea levels. So we're just going to step through quickly these the phases for these different projects. This one is the lift station that's under construction now. Next would be our project that we're talking about today, the SR 166 improvements in blue. Then next we have the relocation of the bank in pink, the CEC and the shoreline improvements in orange. So just something that's important to note looking at this is there's overlap within the blue areas for the extent for SR 166 with the frontage improvements on the CEC and the bank frontage improvements. So we're going to show you how we're trying to tackle the interim conditions for the streetscape, back of curb for SR 166, and then planning for these future improvements with the CEC and the bank to come in for final conditions. And then the next in yellow will be the plaza. We're assuming that'll be the next phase to come in. And then next, the layer of the Bay Street pathway, the multi-use path. This reflects the recent study, the preferred alignment for that pathway route, which is really key to this project. As it's imperative that we make sure that we're implementing that, kind of first segment of those that pathway within these SR 166 improvements. So now we'll look at the the design vision for all these downtown improvements, the look and feel. So we've got the CEC, the plaza, the bank, and SR 166. We're all about at this 60% design level now. This is a dated graphic, so don't look at it too closely, but it just shows how they're, it's this cohesive design that we're trying to establish with all these different pieces. They're uniquely intertwined, and so we'll talk about how that relates to the streetscape and the pathway. With that, Jake is going to step through the overall vision of the look and feel for all of these projects, and then we'll kind of step through them briefly, and then we'll get into the design elements specifically for SR 166. And please, feel free to jump in and stop us if you have any questions, or John, you have anything to add.
I got a question.
Yeah, Heidi.
It's just on the walkway, where the community center will be, or the bank is now. And so you got the office where the marina is. And that walkway is pretty much going to stay exactly like that, maybe just add a little bit more cosmetic to it.
On the shoreline, where Jake's pointing.
Yeah. That's still going to be pretty much the same, but some, like fixing it up a little bit more.
Yeah, that's part of the design improvements for the plaza that kind of zone in yellow that I pointed out, we're looking at how we can integrate the new, wider promenade that will multi-use pathway that'll go through there. But then on the back side of that, it'll be really minimal impact as much as we can to those properties that are outside that.
Okay.
That
Oh,
right
okay,
away.
yeah, widen the
Yeah.
one that's on the waterfront, you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious about that pathway. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, like Holly said, totally. If you have any questions as I'm going through this, feel free to jump in. But here we're looking at just the overall look and feel for the downtown waterfront area. Early on, just a big goal for the project was to create a really inviting and active community space that can function when there's large scale events, but then also on a daily basis if someone wants to just come out and eat lunch or read a book out from the library. So with that pulling from the shoreline nearby, nature that's all around, using organic forms throughout all of these different projects, and just really making it a special place that each having unique spaces between the CEC, Kitsap Bank, and Orchard Plaza, but then also having unifying elements that really carries throughout. So first looking here at the Community Event Center, we have the overwater deck and kind of open plaza space for larger scale events, overhead catenary lighting, and a special like paving plaza treatment. And then you can see the multi-use pathway along the backside, and here also having a different paving treatment and scoring that really delineates the space, making it identifying it as like a pedestrian promenade, like Holly was saying. And then also just bringing in natural materials like wood, a nice planting palette that has variety, but also low maintenance, and kind of gives that coastal vibe, look and feel. And then also on the front side here, showing, as Holly said, this is a earlier concept, so it's still in flux as we, move forward with the CEC and SR 166 design, but showing final conditions of a scored sidewalk, street trees to create overhead canopy, also supports a little bit of traffic calming. Here, moving on to Orchard Plaza. Again, that multi-use pathway that really runs through, it's kind of like a spine of sorts along the waterfront. So carrying that similar materiality and language. And then it will cut through the plaza. And here using a different kind of treatment, still having some, as we work through design, we're just trying to figure out ways to really signal that this is still part of the pathway, but also it's a plaza open space. So kind of mixed use and signaling, bikers to slow down throughout here. Also in the plaza is the lighting that also is going to be on SR 166. So you can see that here as a pedestrian scale lighting. And then other plaza lighting for just to illuminate the space, create a safe, welcoming environment.
And Jake, if I can just add to that, the lighting that you pointed out on the top left. So that is what we have planned for a version of that for the pathway when those projects are the CEC and this plaza pathway as that's integrated. And you'll see that we're proposing that for the streetscape for SR 166 too. So just wanted to point that out, kind of that cohesion that we're trying to achieve with these elements.
Yeah, thanks for that, Holly. It's nice to, see as you move throughout the site and different parts of it, seeing those elements kind of pick up.
Jake, it looks like Dennis, you have your hand
Oh,
raised.
yeah, sorry,
No,
missed that.
no worries.
Yeah.
All three of you, it looks like now.
Yeah.
No worries. I've been told and I've heard that like our tree lighting will migrate to this area that we'll put our annual tree up. And I see the lights in the big round area. I'm not sure where this is going to be, where they think the tree's going to go. Can you point that out?
Yeah, Holly, it's been a while since we've touched Orchard Plaza. But last we were looking at kind of in this general location so that it can be
Yeah.
viewed from the roadway, you know, kind of has this big prominent kind of looking down Orchard Plaza. And
And to be
so,
seen from the road
yeah,
there.
Is there opportunity for a live tree?
For like a, like planted, like there, you know, there isn't
They're
really.
messy, I know.
Well, and the part of the problem is so as you see kind of the swirl that goes through, yeah, that Jake's pointing out, that all has to stay completely open for access to
With driving.
the pump station. So yeah, and then also keeping it open and flexible for different events. So the plan is that the tree would be, you know, a cut tree, and that we're providing like those stanchions, or, you know, so it's easy to set up for the holiday, but not something that's there all year round, unfortunately.
yeah, and we've been looking at because I know there's an existing stand, I believe, by the oh gosh, I forget what building it is, but where the
City Hall.
current
City
yeah, by
Hall,
City
yeah.
Hall.
Yeah.
So looking, you know, and looking at that similar infrastructure so that it has a place where it can go.
We're running into supply shortage with these trees that are 25 to 40 years old. Tree farmers aren't doing it they're not having those big trees aren't readily available anymore, so it's becoming difficult. And I thought I'd ask.
Okay.
That's another
Yeah.
conversation later. Thank you.
It
Yeah,
is, but
we
yeah,
could still
good.
explore.
Yep, that's good to think about as we continue on that project. It looks like Heidi, you had your hand up too.
I think Mark was before me, weren't you, Mark?
Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
Okay, okay, two questions. I see the pump station and then the plaza. Are we having, because right now, isn't there parking right by the pump station or no? Is that public parking the same and as much parking as it is down there right now?
You know, I'm not sure about that, kind of the give and take on the parking for this. Yeah, so I can't answer that question at this point.
Okay, okay, and then my other question is, there was talk to have the farmer's market here. I mean, they have quite a bit of space over at the marina, the parking spot over there on the other side, by the what do you call it, the gazebo. But there has been talk to move the farmer's market over here. Are they supposed to be on the plaza and park pathway, or where is the farmer's market supposed to be?
You know, for this space at this point in the design, we're trying to keep it just as flexible as we can for
Mhm.
whatever event that is. And so through the process, we've tried a million different scenarios of where tents can be set up throughout the space, where you see kind of plaza and pathway, the central kind of plaza area, and then where it says public parking too. So
Mhm.
that's all being designed kind of open and flexible.
Okay, I was just kind of curious. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might be able to help answer that question for you,
Oh.
Heidi.
Uh-huh.
And this is preliminary, but we were planning on using that public parking area if it's large enough, or it might spill into the plaza area a little bit for the farmers market. But we are still in the infancy of this, so we've got some time to play with once the design is a little farther along, to play with that and plan for that for the future. In regards to that parking, that is additional parking, but remember, we've got Kitsap Bank coming in or moving their location. It'll also bring some additional parking spaces for us. There are two. I hope that answers your questions. My question was for Holly. You had mentioned having a continuous look of the new lighting, not only on the multi-use pathway, but also out onto 166, which I think is a great idea. However, what's your feeling? Have you talked about taking that lighting and replacing what we currently have along the waterfront pathway to the east at this point, so that there's some continuity with that lighting as well? Or are we going to have one version on one side and another version on the east side of town? Do you know?
Yeah, that's a really good question and point. The way that we've been looking at this, as far as, because we know that the pathway will extend you know, east, and then I think eventually up, or it does extend, and then eventually up Port Orchard Avenue too. But as you come into this downtown kind of core, this more mixing zone along the waterfront, then that kind of material can change. It'll go from like an asphalt pathway to this more, you know, concrete scored decorative pathway. And I think the lighting can change with that too. But that said, it definitely should have a cohesive look kind of as you move through spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we should probably scoot on to the next. Yeah, thanks, Jake.
Yeah, moving along. This image here showing final conditions of that, like we said, the early conceptual illustrative graphic, you know, with street trees to create that canopy, roadway planters, and scoring. And this is just to give a snapshot of, you know, what we had been thinking in the past. And then on this next slide, I'll show you where we're at currently for the 60% submittal that John was talking about. You know, showing the raised crossing at Orchard Plaza along with 2 center medians along the roadway, supporting traffic calming and, you know, making it just more accessible and easy for pedestrians to cross the street and feel safe doing so. On this backside, interim asphalt conditions until the CEC goes in. So with this phase, you know, getting in like essential infrastructure, illumination, matching grades where needed. And then on other portions, installing like the concrete trail that was on the other portions that we had looked at the CEC and along the waterfront, continuing that language and scoring along so that it kind of picks up again, you know, indicates that it's a pedestrian trail space or pathway. And then where possible, getting in some street trees and landscape planters for, you know, that greening effect, overhead canopy, also supports traffic calming along the roadway. And here we'll dive into the details a little bit. So this is a more close-up of that roadway and pedestrian lighting. This image here shows the combo of it. So for the most part along the roadway, it is a combined roadway and pedestrian light fixture with the steel post beam and then hardwood facing. And just to ease any concerns, this hardwood is it's an Akoya hardwood that has been chemically treated, non-toxic chemicals, and it makes it just so that water doesn't permeate as much as typical woods, and that just enhances and increases the lifespan of the wood. You know, it prevents it from warping and attracting, you know, fungus. So very durable product. And then selecting like a lighter weathered gray color just to bring a little bit of brightness to the space, and that natural element that we're carrying throughout in other parts of the CEC and Plaza.
Dennis, you have a question?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I probably are going to answer the first question. So I want to point out I know Councilmember Fenton's going to ask about the flower baskets, and we do have irrigation going up these.
Yes.
So, okay.
That's the plan.
We
Yep.
still need to coordinate. We'll see what the last
right.
submittal, you know, a lot of coordination left with how we're going to get irrigation over to some of these with the interim asphalt, but yes, definitely showing
Okay.
that.
And then are they going to be on posts that are the lamp posts with the wood facade?
Yes.
So is that going to be an issue with the abundance of water?
I don't think it should be, as long as there's like, you know, proper drainage within the baskets and there's space far enough.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem.
And then just real quick, this has been coordinated with the pole, and the fixture has been coordinated with PSE too. And it's also BABA compliant, as this is federally funded. So we're looking at something, even though only a handful of these are going to go in with this project, we're looking kind of long term for something that the city can easily continue to implement as areas get redeveloped downtown. So, yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
you're taking a,
Oh, there
Dennis,
was-
do you have another question or was that from? Oh, no, you're, okay, cool. I just want to make sure. Here, this is a close-up of the raised crosswalk in one of the medians. As I said, there's two along the roadway with a similar treatment. But at the raised crosswalk, you know, just for pedestrian safety and really making it a visual cue that this is a pedestrian crossing, showing a darker integral colored concrete, so that there's that contrast between the crossbars. And then kind of keeping that the darker integral color and crossing to this portion of the raised tabletop. And then looking at the mountable center median, again, pulling similar colors from the raised crosswalk, just so that those kind of have a similar language and, you know, speak to each other. And then also forms that we're showing within the CEC and plaza, those things that kind of reminiscent of the shoreline. Heidi?
I was curious, and maybe Dennis, you know this too. Are we gonna put where there's like a motion or lighting, or I like the one we have downtown where you just push a button and it's kind of solar panel for walkways so people can really see going across the walkway. Are we gonna have those along?
So I don't know how many, Councilmember Fenton. So she's talking rapid rectangular flashing beacons, I'm assuming.
Something like that, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's just-
our
yeah,
RFPs.
just
Is that,
lighting.
does this
Yeah,
have them
there you
yet
go.
at this point?
Oh, no, oh, we haven't implemented that yet, huh?
Well, this isn't 90% yet, right? So
Okay.
We're
It's-
at 60% design, and our
Yeah.
current design doesn't have a RFB at this crossing right now.
Mhm.
We did a review of the recommendations to put in RFBs, and this crosswalk didn't warrant it according to the federal guidelines at this point in time. So it was something that is not in our current design, but potentially we could
Yeah, or
revisit this topic.
yeah, or
Um,
maybe look at the one on the one that's probably be really used is the one at Josephine's in Revival on, oh,
I think
can't
that's
think of that.
Fredericks, I think.
Yes, correct. So anyway, I'm just curious.
No, that's good feedback. I will say, Councilmember Fenton, so these flashing beacons, I'll say it the quick way, they are solar now, so they don't require any underground. So it's getting pretty common for those to go in after the fact. Is that your Jake and John and Holly? Is that your experience that these are pretty easily installed later on because they're radio frequency to talk to each other?
They are easy to put in after the project is constructed. I would recommend not putting them in with federal dollars because they are hard to be federally compliant, just based on the parts that go inside of them. Usually better just put on by the city. The other intersection at Frederick, I just want to say the city's actually putting in and still has crossings with yellow flags. You can pull out and walk across the street. And with the pedestrian volumes there, the federal intersection guidelines are recommending that level of treatment, just with the ADT and the number of pedestrians walking through still. So that's included in this 60% design as well. So just want to share that information.
Yeah, and along those lines, John, you could probably speak better to this than me, but this is being reduced down to 20 miles per hour. Is that correct?
Mhm.
And then, you know, all of these, the raised crosswalk and the medians, the street trees, that sort of thing, are all lending to kind of a combined approach for traffic calming. So ideally, cars are moving through here pretty slowly.
Yeah, yes, I've at night or I walk a lot downtown. I mean, sometimes you walk up and then a car will still go right in front of you, even
Yeah.
now. And even though we're gonna put the speed down, you know, some people still kind of will stick at that speed. Or a lot of times the flags are all on one side and not the other, or on the ground. So hopefully maybe after the fact we can get those little blinky lights because those are ideal.
Agreed.
That is a straight, it's very common, Councilmember Fenton, and I would, I appreciate doing it with the project, but it's, I understand the federal dollars. If you think back to when we did
Yeah.
the Marine station and how we basically had to stand still because we had to get special approval because it was federally funded to do a non-US American made part. So
Mhm.
it would be much easier to do it down the road.
Yes, I agree.
Any more questions at this point?
Yeah, I've got a question for John.
Yeah.
Can you remind me or us where the 20-mile zone will begin coming, heading eastbound, coming west? So, you know, where Port Orchard Boulevard is, in relations to this new section of project, where will it drop down to the 20th zone?
We had met with WashDOT and their Olympic Region traffic engineer and had come to a planning level agreement. The right place is the intersection of Kitsap and SR 166. And
Okay,
it's the turn into Water Street. The exact signage location hasn't been determined yet. We have a plan that we have put together and sent to WashDOT with a detailed location for them to review. That's part of our 6% plan. We've not sent it yet, but verbally we talked about it in our coordination meeting and we agreed that that was the right place to put it. You'll see in the drawing here on the lower left-hand corner, the center median between Kitsap and
Mhm.
Klein Street. That treatment is another speed reduction treatment that WashDOT felt was appropriate to help justify lowering the speed limit to 20 miles an hour. That is generally the area where we're going to put the speed reduction, the speed limit reduction start coming into downtown Port Orchard, and it'll be before the median going into the turn into the marina, which I believe is technically called Water Street, according to the city's original platting. I don't believe there's a sign there anymore that's called Water Street, but that's there's a little piece of right of way that goes up to the marina that's legally called Water Street in some documents I've seen.
Okay, thank you.
Here's just a closer snapshot of some of the details of these features. Right now we're looking at, I said on the mountable center median, bringing in that integral color concrete with and then another band with a scored or sandblasted treatment. And then in the center, lithocrete concrete, which is a seeded type of cement concrete. So, and this can be seeded with like sea glass, rock, specialty rock, really to create an impact.
Cool.
But yeah, so just kind of, creating a nice, keeping it pretty simple, but having a little bit of visual contrast and something interesting down the middle.
With
And then
it
also
being,
drive.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
Geez,
interrupt, Jake.
no.
I was just gonna say, with it being, needing to be mountable, we're really limited
Mhm.
with, we can't put any landscaping or any kind of vertical element. So had to think out of the box a little bit here to try to get something that is, durable, drivable, but also provides that cohesiveness to the future improvements and just a nice kind of gateway feature as best you can within the opportunities of these two uh, medians.
That's cool. I've never seen that. Could look like water, a wave.
Yeah.
Kind of what we were going for, so that's great.
Hey.
That was the inspiration. Yeah. And
Um,
then, yeah, go if you want to jump into
Yeah, I'll wrap it up
landscaping
here
real
with
quick.
a quick overview of the landscaping. So again, using similar plants that we are proposing in the CEC planter areas and Orchard Plaza. But here along Bay Street, using a little bit more of a minimal palette that's pretty low maintenance while still having a little bit of seasonal impact. Some evergreens, but then also deciduous shrubs within there that have some seasonal flowering, and some ornamental grasses. And then also, this will be future phase with the CEC, but installing more street trees along that frontage. These are smaller street trees, which will help to frame the CEC and not block too much of the architecture or views out to the waterfront. And then also just because with the pathway that goes along the CEC and SR 166 there, the planter space is a little bit limited. So just making sure that we, put in trees that can be happy within that space. But yeah, the palette just, focusing on water wise, so things that'll do well throughout the summer, and just minimal maintenance.
And then our last slide here, with the parameters of this first phase of SR 166 improvements, with the interim conditions and then just the tight space that Jake mentioned with the trying to get the multi-use trail in and the frontage improvements at CEC. We don't have a lot of room for your typical streetscape, downtown streetscape amenities, such as benches, gateway signage, that sort of thing. But we are thinking, kind of long term, and then with opportunities within the frontages of the CEC and the plaza, we're looking to incorporate, public art, seating, signage, and that sort of thing. So with this first phase of SR 166, you won't see a lot of that except for the details that Jake shared with you, but always good to kind of think, long term for these downtown improvements.
Mhm.
And with that, any additional comments or questions?
Is that the only place where that blue walkway, the wave, is right there? Or is it gonna be implemented throughout the little area?
There's two medians. Jake's pointing at kind of the bottom in the yellow.
I can go to the bigger
Oh,
image.
yeah, so it's a medium, it's not a walkway.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So just
okay.
something that you'll see, as you drive
Mhm.
by. And then to the right of that one medium, you have the raised crossing
Mhm.
that we spoke to.
Hey, Jake, did you say that colored thing that Heidi and the wavy thing you guys are talking about, is
Mhm.
that drivable? Did you mention that?
Yeah, it's drivable.
Okay.
It's just a seated concrete, so it's all set in there.
So is
And
it
then,
raised like 6 inches or something like that, or just curious?
John, do you know,
It-
is it, I think it's like a
Believe
wash dot.
the curb itself is a washed-out style mountable median curb,
Hmm.
but the height differential is about 6 inches.
It'll be exactly like the Bethel 166 roundabout that just went in by Kentucky Fried Chicken. So it'll be drivable like that. That's the standard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
much prettier.
okay.
The color appearance is going to look a lot different though.
Yeah.
The functionality and safety of it's the up to state standards. But the
Correct.
visual stuff is going to look, pretty nice and just different. So
Maybe we could put it on the side, over by the walkway, on the side of the community center, so we could put more of that in.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
that's definitely something Holly and I will be looking at. The community event center and plaza have been, we put that down for a little bit to focus on SR 166 to get that up to speed, but I think it would be cool to have some pops of that throughout maybe the plaza or somewhere along the waterfront.
Yeah, is it very expensive?
It is pricier for sure than standard, so that's why in the median we're keeping it to a limited area, but we've used it in the past in ways of whether it's like a little band of it or sort of medallion. So there's ways to use it strategically that creates a nice impact.
Yeah, beautify the downtown.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get to 60%, or are we at 60% now?
we're at 60%. The design team's finished the plans, estimates, and spec development. We'll be sending that to the city tomorrow or tonight.
Tonight.
When I package it together, Chris is out of the office today, but we'll get effectively we're there. We're at the 60% milestone. The next steps for the project really is we're going to go talk to WashDOT, get approval to start getting some right-of-way acquisition. We'll start talking to some property owners and get some right of entry and construction easements, hopefully, for the projects. We have to do some grading and access changes and utility stubs to some of the private property owners going through the corridor. So this is kind of generally the next step. We haven't gotten into the details exactly when that outreach is going to happen, but I guess I'm just talking about the big important milestones to happen after 60 usually is the next big thing. So
for us as a city, the city council, just discussing next steps, I'll leave it up to this committee. If you want this to go to a study session, I will tell you today, I've been having conversations with our legal team. There's been this is a federally funded project. There is grant funding available. Transportation dollars is not excluded on the hold right now with federal dollars. So we could push this out a little bit before we proceed and take it back to council. But I don't believe that there's been any significant changes in the project since council last saw this. And so I'll just query you right now to see what your desire is. And landscape can always change at 90%, correct, team?
Yes. Yep.
So
everything we've talked about today about landscaping modifications, treatment to pavement, putting in an RFP is something we could add in. The RFP has a little bit of review process at WashDOT, but effectively the things we don't want to do after 60 would be changing parking layouts, changing the curb lines, changing the length of the project. That's something we would recommend probably not doing. So
I'll just say I'm comfortable with what we're seeing here. So moving forward, I'm comfortable with. What I'm not quite comfortable with is we're missing one of our council members on the team. But I don't know if Heidi, if you're comfortable with moving forward with it, we would have the vote 2-1, even if Scott wasn't comfortable. So I'm comfortable moving forward.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable too. It's nice to know, I guess the stuff I really like is kind of after the fact that we can add a little bit to it. So yeah, I'm good too, to go forward.
We'll continue to engage council, and you'll see it again in front of city council, the full council. But I think staying the course is the best route of action right now. All right. Thank you everyone for participating in this presentation, and you're welcome to stick around for the rest of the meeting, or it's about wrapping up, but I'll let you opt out if you want.
okay.
Well, thank you very much for your time,
Yeah,
Council
thank
members
you.
and Dennis.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for
Much
the
appreciated.
presentation.
Thank
Very
you.
enlightening and getting us back on track. It's been a few months since we've seen this, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Always fun to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so moving along to future agenda items. We discussed at a previous city council meeting about bicyclist signage. I think Councilmember Rosa Pepe mentioned it, some instances. Chris wanted to be part of a conversation about that because he's got some great experience. He lives in Bainbridge Island, helped design a lot of the paths, the bicycle ride share areas. So just wanted to provide some overviews of what's available out there, if that's something that this committee would like to undertake in the future. He does want to give an update of the TIF study in February. We're going to talk about 2025 grant applications in February. We're going to kind of wait and see what happens with the federal grants. There was some action today where the stop payments was postponed a week, so we'll see what comes with that. Really gonna have probably get Charlie involved on some legal opinion if that's a prolonged effort. And then we're gonna be talking about the 2025 road preservation program. Most of our money is gonna be going to Sydney non-motorized. We do have that area of Sydney where we've gotten some public input. Council provided an extra $100,000 in our budget, so we're gonna be doing some pavement repairs with that $100,000 in front of Paul Powers Park area. So that's what we're targeting at. And I am happy to answer any other questions if you have anything else.
No, this is just kind of so I like all those future topics. Now I got maybe because Chris Hammer was out, so I don't know how you got your agenda, council member Mark, but I didn't get the agenda that we normally get. And so, but I was happened to go through checking out some McCormick stuff, and then there pops up my agenda. And I go, oh, for tonight. So that was kind of nice. So because usually we get an agenda, right? Like even a couple days before our transportation meeting or early that day.
It went out yesterday. I can check to see.
Darn, I missed. Did you get it, Mark?
Well, I got it through the new software program, so yes, it was on there. It just didn't get sent out quite the same way we'd seen in the past because
That's better.
Chris is out doing
That's
other
what I was
things.
thinking.
So
Yeah, because usually it goes to our emails and then it's boom right there.
yeah,
And then along with that, maybe it's too much. But when we get the agenda, can we get maybe so we can study every topic a little bit more in depth? Or is that too much? You know, so you know how kind of sometimes we get a packet with our city council meetings, and then we can really read about it or whatever. I don't know. Is that too much to ask? No, maybe
Well,
too much to ask.
too much to ask. Okay.
with these consultants, it's they're working on this presentation, and I sent them an email, and they it didn't look like it went through to my email because I didn't get it, and I found out that I would be doing this today. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a push. It's a push.
Yeah. Well, I can see, especially through the consultants, maybe
Yeah.
just some of our own projects or something. I don't know.
We have an amazing staff here, and we're so
Mhm.
lucky. But I mean, I do with all the development projects that Public Works works with Nick's group
Mhm.
with, and then our capital projects. I mean, these consultants have full-time people preparing this information, so it's like
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's a team. And then that packet that Janine and Brandy put together, I mean, that is what they're doing for 2 weeks. I mean, it is a push.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
well, maybe when I get the agenda, because I'm sure we'll
yeah,
get it on our email next time. Because
I'll work on getting that earlier. There's some stuff outside of Chris's control right now, so he's
Oh, sure. And then if I have a question, I'll just contact you or, ask a question,
always.
for my
Always.
meeting. Yeah, yeah.
Always.
So no problem. Okay, thanks.
All
Well,
right.
no, the one thing I like about these committee meetings is it is a time where we can discuss openly and ask
Yes.
questions openly about things. We don't have to be all knowledgeable about a topic. That's what our staff is for. And so
True.
asking questions of them, this is a great format, I think.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
For
Yeah.
helping us be better council members as well.
Mhm. Yes.
So Dennis, nice job on running the meeting. I
Yes.
kind of assumed I was gonna do it, so you took
Oh,
it. I'm glad with that.
I thought you wanted me to do it.
I would have said you or you do it for me if you
Oh,
picked me.
it was pretty light, so no worries.
Okay.
All
So
right,
you're
great.
gonna be
I will see everyone at 6:30.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
good. Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.